Hey, so far, hopefully you're enjoying studying ancient Egypt, guys, the last couple days. Today the focus really is on the achievements and the accomplishments that the Egyptians made. And I've attached a couple just short clips from a YouTube documentary. Okay, I think in total it's about 15 minutes. Okay, I don't, I'm not trying to bore you with a bunch of documentary clips, but I try to make them short and I trimmed them down to exactly what you need to watch. Um, and then I thought I'd just touch on a couple of these topics a little bit more in depth, just to fill you in a little bit, right? So yesterday we talked about mummies, and you perused a website that talked about the mummification process, and then you had to compare and contrast it to how we deal with, funerals and preserving bodies and things like that. So I thought I'd show you a couple pictures, just to fill you in. Like some of these are from a couple of trips to museums that I've done, and some of them are borrowed from the internet. Okay, so I'm not claiming that all these are mine. In the website yesterday that you looked at, there was some reference to canopic jars, and this is just a picture of what they would actually look like, and this is where the organs would go. So when they pull the organs out of you, then they would store them in these jars here, and they would bury you with them. Okay, and that way you would still have your organs for the afterlife. Okay, so that's what the jars, look like. Um, as far as actual mummies, these are. This is a mummy here that is remarkably well preserved. He is, remember, thousands of years old. Okay, and we've unboxed him and I guess unwrapped him a little bit, and that's how well preserved he is, right? And if you're looking, I mean, he still has a mustache. Oops, sorry, got in the way up there. But he still has a mustache, um, and he's got fingernails. Okay, so really, really great job preserving the body through mummification. There's another one here. Okay, this guy maybe not as quite as well preserved, but you can see more of him. Okay, again, these are mummies that are 4, maybe even 5,000 years old. Our preservation process, guys, you're just going to be bones and dust after 5,000 years. Okay, we don't try to preserve people for more than just a few weeks until the funeral is over. Now, obviously, be wrapped up, but of course, you would also be in some type of coffin or sarcophagus. So, these are just a couple examples. Here's one that's, not real fancy, but you know, uh, decorated well. Okay, probably family that would be, middle to upper class there. If you weren't quite as wealthy, then your family may have you buried in something like this. Okay, again, that's just more of a wrapping with some wood over it that's kind of painted, but it's definitely not as high quality as the one I just showed you. If you work down, then you may get to just being buried in something like this. It's literally just being wrapped up, and they paint it on top of the wrapping. Okay, that would be definitely someone who doesn't have anywhere as much money. If you had a lot of money, though, right, then you may get to be buried in something as rich and as luxurious as this. Yeah, the stuff that looks like gold there is gold. Right, so lots of money put into that person's coffin there. Um, okay, and of course, if you're King Tut, right, who was again a minor pharaoh, he really wasn't that important, but he was buried with billions of dollars of treasure. This was his coffin. All right, so wide range of spectrums. Obviously, the mummy inside is still preserved the same way, but the decorative shell could change based on how much money you had. Um, all right, let me zoom in here also now for a second on the Rosetta Stone. So you heard a little bit about it in the video. My pictures aren't amazing. It's behind a glass partition, so you can't get real close to it, and there's a lot of reflection on it. But let me just tell you that here's the cool story that maybe went hidden in the video. Hieroglyphics, right, the Egyptian pictogram language, actually died out. So when they were taken over, the Egyptians were taken over at about 700 BC by the Assyrians and then eventually the Persians and the Greeks. Eventually, hieroglyphics died out. It wasn't really the greatest language to use. It was kind of clunky because it was pictogram. So Egyptians began to use Greek instead because it was an alphabet language. But during this transition time where they like switched from one language to the other, the Rosetta Stone was carved, and it had Greek on the bottom, and it had hieroglyphics, and then another form of hieroglyphics called Demotic. Right? I think you heard about that in the video. And so then when we discovered it, we decided, oh, like you could decipher it, right? And, like it probably says the same thing in all three languages. We can read Greek in the 1800s, and so we were able to decode the Rosetta Stone and learn a ton of information then about ancient Egypt. Okay, so it's kind of unique, right? Hieroglyphics had actually died out, and we've now been able to resurrect it and bring it back to life. Okay, the pyramids. You heard quite a bit about the pyramids. I won't go into a lot of detail here. Let me just say that these were built really to be the tomb of the pharaoh, but it would also be a warehouse or a storehouse for all the things that he was going to be able to take with him to the afterlife. So, as you saw a little bit in the video, I mean, there's boats taken out of these. There's gold, silver, jewels, furniture. Sometimes there was even servants that would be killed and mummified so that they could serve the pharaoh in the afterlife. So yeah, we are talking billions of dollars. Now, all of these pyramids actually are empty in the modern age. They were robbed way back in antiquity, and people stole all the treasure out. And King Tut actually wasn't buried in a pyramid. He was buried just like in a tomb cut into a hillside, and a huge sandstorm covered over the tomb, and we didn't discover it until 1922. So that's why that was intact. But the pyramids are all empty now. Okay, and there's three great ones, but there are a couple dozen other smaller pyramids that other pharaohs also built. All right. Now, the other cool thing about it, they are really eroded at this point, right? You can see that they're kind of rough. Imagine that they used to be perfectly smooth. There used to be what's called capstones that were placed on these, and they'd be perfectly smooth, and supposedly they would be blinding. As the sun hit the pyramid, it'd just be blinding to even look at because it was so smooth and finished perfectly. All right. And again, these are roughly 4,000 years old. So I'm not sure that a building we build today will ever even come close to lasting 4,000 years, especially without it being maintained for most of that time, right? Once Egypt declined as a civilization, these weren't maintained very much. And so it's amazing that they look still the way that they do today. Okay, I think those are really the only kind of things I wanted to touch on as far as extra details. I'll just show you quickly the folder, and just kind of remind you it's not actually finished. I guess I have to add a couple things to the folder, but let me just point out again, these are the three videos that you're going to want to watch. Okay, about the Rosetta Stone, King Tut, the pyramids, and then at the end there is an assignment that goes with that. And I'll also attach here in a minute, I'll attach a document that you could go to for further information about a lot of these topics as well. So please be sure, use your resources as you do the assignment, right? It's okay to go back to those resources and make sure that you're getting the correct answer. All right, good luck. And don't forget, tomorrow we do have a required Zoom meeting. So I will see you all online tomorrow.